My name is Hillary Mark. I'm 28 years old and I run a six-figure brand consultancy in downtown Philadelphia. But 3 years ago, I was sitting in my childhood bedroom in suburban New Jersey, staring at a suitcase I just finished packing, wondering how the people who were supposed to love me could make me feel so completely invisible. Here's what's strange about betrayal. It's not always the big, dramatic moment that breaks you. It's not the screaming match or the thrown plate or the slammed door. Sometimes it's just 5 words and a nod. 5 words that confirm what you've suspected your entire life, but never wanted to believe. 5 words that give you permission to finally stop trying. No one really wants you here. My sister Jennifer said that to me across our mother's dining room table on a Tuesday evening in March 2023. And my mother, the woman who gave birth to me, who braided my hair for school pictures, who taught me how to make her grandmother's lasagna, my mother just nodded, slowly, deliberately, like she'd been waiting years to agree with that statement, but never had the courage to say it herself. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I didn't ask them to explain or take it back. I just stood up, walked upstairs, and started packing. By morning, I was gone. What I didn't know then was that this moment, this quiet, devastating confirmation that I was unwanted in my own family, would become the foundation of everything I built afterward. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I finally stopped asking for permission to exist. Before we dive into how I set myself free, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy this story. Where are you watching from? Drop your city below in the comments. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. I need you to understand something about my family before I tell you how they broke me. We weren't always like this. Or maybe we were, and I just couldn't see it yet. I grew up in a modest ranch house in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, a backyard with a rusted swing set my father never took down, even after Jennifer and I stopped using it. My parents, Robert and Margaret Mark, were good people by most measures. Dad worked for the Postal Service for 37 years. Mom was a school administrator who knew every student's name and kept granola bars in her desk for kids who came to school hungry. Jennifer was 6 years older than me. 6 years that felt like a generation gap when we were kids, but that I thought had closed as we grew up. She was the golden child, the one who got straight A's without trying, who was elected student council president, who went to Rutgers on a partial scholarship and came back with a business degree and big plans. I was the creative one, the one who spent hours in my room designing posters for imaginary bands and logos for companies that didn't exist. The one who got B's and C's, not because I was stupid, but because I couldn't see the point of memorizing dates and formulas when I could be building worlds in Photoshop. Hillary's an artist, my mother would say of family gatherings, and I could never tell if it was pride or apology in her voice. But here's the thing I held onto for 28 years. I believed they loved me. Not the same way they loved Jennifer, maybe, not with the same ease or certainty, but I thought there was a foundation there, something unshakable. I remember being 16 and having a panic attack before a presentation in English class. Jennifer, home from college for the weekend, sat with me on my bedroom floor for 2 hours. She didn't tell me to calm down or get over it. She just breathed with me, slow and steady, until my heart rate matched hers. "You're going to be okay," she said. "You're tougher than you think." I believed her. I remember being 22, fresh out of a community college graphic design program, terrified I'd made the wrong choice by not going to a 4-year university like everyone expected. My mother made her famous lasagna, the one with 3 kinds of cheese and homemade sauce that took all day, and told me that success wasn't about the name on your diploma, it was about finding work that made you feel alive. I believed her, too. For years, I carried these memories like talismans, evidence that I belonged, that I mattered, that when things got hard, my family would show up for me the way I'd always shown up for them. I was the one who drove 3 hours to help Jennifer move into her first apartment. I was the one who spent my weekends helping my parents digitize old family photos when Dad's eyesight started failing. I was the one who learned to cook Mom's recipes so the family traditions wouldn't die with her generation. I gave and gave and gave, and I told myself it wasn't about keeping score. Family doesn't keep score, family just shows up. So when Dad had a minor heart attack in February 2023, I didn't even hesitate. I was living in a tiny studio apartment in Philadelphia at the time, building my freelance design business from the ground up, barely making rent most months. But family came first. That's what I'd been taught. I packed a bag for 2 weeks and drove home to help. Jennifer was already there, of course. She'd been laid off from her marketing job 6 months earlier and had moved back into her old bedroom temporarily while she figured things out. Mom seemed relieved to have both her daughters under one roof again, even under such stressful circumstances. "It'll be like old times," she said, squeezing my hand in the hospital waiting room. I smiled and squeezed back, ignoring the small voice in my head that whispered, "Old times weren't always good times." But I pushed that voice down. This was family. This was home. This was where I was supposed to be. Dad recovered quickly. It was more of a warning than a crisis. But Mom asked if I could stay a little longer, just until they got their feet under them, just until the medical bills were sorted out and the follow-up appointments were scheduled. "Of course," I said, "whatever you need." I extended my stay from 2 weeks to 4. I took on remote design work from my childhood bedroom, video calling clients while sitting at the same desk I'd done my high school homework at. I cooked dinners, managed Dad's medications, handled insurance paperwork, and tried not to notice that Jennifer barely lifted a finger to help. I told myself she was going through a hard time, that unemployment was stressful, that everyone coped differently. I told myself a lot of things that turned out to be lies. The first crack appeared so quietly I almost missed it. I was making breakfast on a Saturday morning, scrambled eggs, turkey bacon, fresh fruit I'd picked up from the farmer's market. Dad was doing better, taking short walks around the neighborhood. Mom seemed less anxious. I thought maybe things were stabilizing. Jennifer came downstairs in her pajamas at 11, hair in a messy bun, scrolling through her phone. "Morning," I said, sliding a plate toward her. "How'd you sleep?" She glanced at the eggs like I'd offered her roadkill. "I'm actually trying to do intermittent fasting, but thanks." The way she said thanks didn't sound grateful. It sounded annoyed. "Oh, sorry, I didn't know." "Yeah, well," she poured herself black coffee. "Not everyone broadcasts their entire life on social media." I hadn't posted anything about being home. I barely used social media except for my design portfolio. But I didn't correct her. I just wrapped her plate in foil and put it in the fridge. Small thing, easy to dismiss. But then there was the afternoon Mom asked me to pick up Dad's prescriptions, and Jennifer said, "Doesn't Hillary have work to do? I thought she was so busy with her little design projects." Little design projects, like my career was a hobby, like the clients I'd spent years cultivating were children's coloring books. "I can make time," I said quietly. Mom patted my arm. "You're such a help, honey." Jennifer went back to scrolling her phone. The comments started piling up like paper cuts, tiny on their own, but collectively they bled. "Hillary, did you really need to reorganize the entire pantry? Mom had a system." "Hillary, some of us are trying to work. Can you keep it down?" I'd been unloading the dishwasher at 2 in the afternoon. "Hillary, not everyone can just work from anywhere. Some of us had real careers with offices and structure." Had. Past tense, like my present tense career didn't count. I started keeping my digital journal again, something I'd done since college as a way to process emotions I couldn't speak out loud. I'd write letters I'd never send, conversations I wished I could have. "Dear Jennifer," I typed one night, I don't understand why you're angry at me. I came home to help. I've been here for 6 weeks now, paying for groceries with money I can't really afford to spend, doing laundry and cooking and cleaning while you sleep until noon, and somehow I'm the problem? I never sent it. I just saved it in a folder called Unsent and tried to be more helpful, more invisible, more accommodating. Maybe if I was quieter, smaller, less present, she'd remember that we used to be close. But the erosion continued. Mom started doing this thing where she'd ask me my opinion about something, then immediately look to Jennifer for confirmation, like my thoughts needed to be validated by someone more important. Hillary, do you think we should paint the guest room? I think a soft gray would be nice, really open up the space. Mom would turn to Jennifer. What do you think, Jen? Whatever, it's not like anyone uses that room anyway. And we'd end up not painting it at all. Dad was the only one who seemed genuinely glad I was there. He'd thank me for his morning coffee, for filling his pill organizer, for just sitting with him while he watched the evening news. "You're a good daughter, Hill," he'd say. But even his praise felt hollow, because when Jennifer snapped at me or Mom dismissed my ideas, Dad would just retreat into his newspaper. He saw the erosion happening, he just chose not to do anything about it. I kept telling myself it was temporary. Stress did strange things to people. Once Dad was fully recovered, once Jennifer found a new job, once things settled down, we'd go back to normal. But one night, I overheard Jennifer and Mom talking in the kitchen. I'd come downstairs for water, and their voices drifted through the doorway. "I don't know how much longer she's planning to stay," Jennifer said. "She's helping," Mom replied, but there was uncertainty in her voice. "Is she, though? Or is she just avoiding her own life? I mean, what kind of 28-year-old freelancer can just drop everything for 2 months? It's not exactly a real career." Silence. I waited for Mom to defend me, to say that I'd sacrificed a lot to be here, that my career was valid and valuable. Instead, she sighed. "You might have a point." I went back upstairs without the water. That's when I started planning my exit, not because I wanted to leave, but because I finally understood that I was already gone to them. I was a convenient helper, a temporary solution, not a daughter they valued, not someone they wanted. The dinner was Mom's idea. "Let's have a nice family meal," she'd said that Tuesday morning. "All of us together. It's been such a stressful time, and I think we need to reconnect." I should have known something was off. We'd been eating together every night for 8 weeks. Why did this one need to be special? But I wanted to believe in the ritual, in the possibility that food and conversation could fix what was breaking. So I made Mom's lasagna, the 3-cheese all-day sauce version, and set the table with the good dishes we only used for holidays. We sat down at 6, Dad at the head of the table, Mom to his right, Jennifer across from me. The lasagna steamed between us, layers of pasta and cheese and memory. "This looks wonderful, Hillary," Dad said, serving himself a generous portion. "It does," Mom agreed, but she was looking at Jennifer, not me. We ate in silence for a few minutes, the kind of quiet that feels like held breath. Then Jennifer set down her fork. "So, Hillary, how much longer are you planning to stay?" The question landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading outward. I don't know. As long as you need me, I guess. Why?" She glanced at Mom, and something passed between them, some understanding I wasn't part of. "It's just that you've been here for 2 months now, and Mom and I have been talking. We think maybe it's time for you to get back to your own life." My own life? Like the life I'd built in Philadelphia was separate from this one? Like I hadn't been born into this family, raised in this house, shaped by these people. "I thought I was helping," I said quietly. "You were," Mom interjected, and there was something almost pitying in her voice. "You have been, But Dad's doing so much better now, and Jennifer and I can handle things from here. Jennifer and I, not all of us, not we as a family, just the two of them. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I can leave this weekend, give you back your space. It's not about space, Jennifer said, and her tone had shifted, sharper now. It's about the fact that you've been hovering for weeks, reorganizing everything, acting like we can't function without you. It's suffocating. Jen, Dad started, but she cut him off. No, someone needs to say it. Hillary, you've always done this. You insert yourself into situations and then act like the martyr when people don't fall all over themselves thanking you. The truth is, she paused, looked at Mom again, and Mom gave the smallest nod, permission. The truth is, no one really wants you here. The room went silent. Not the peaceful silence of a quiet evening, but the terrible silence of something irreversible, like the moment after a glass shatters before anyone moves to clean it up. I looked at Mom, waiting for her to disagree, to tell Jennifer she'd gone too far, to say that of course they wanted me, that I was family, that I belonged. Instead, she looked down at her plate and nodded, once, slow and deliberate. That nod was worse than Jennifer's words. It was confirmation. It was complicity. It was the final proof that I'd been fooling myself for 28 years. I turned to Dad. He was staring at his lasagna like it held the secrets of the universe, his jaw working but no words coming out. Dad? He couldn't look at me, just shook his head slightly, like he was sorry but not sorry enough to contradict them. I stood up. The chair scraped against the floor, loud in the silence. Okay, I said. Just that. Just okay. Because what else was there to say? They'd told me the truth, and I'd finally heard it. I walked upstairs to my childhood bedroom, the room with the desk where I'd done my homework and the closet where I'd hung my prom dress, and the window where I'd watched the seasons change for 18 years. I pulled my suitcase from under the bed and started packing. I could hear them downstairs. Low voices. Jennifer saying something sharp, Mom's softer replies, Dad's silence. No one came up to apologize. No one knocked on my door to say they didn't mean it. No one tried to take it back. By 10 p.m., my bags were packed. By 6 a.m., I was gone. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Thank you for the honesty. I hope you find what you're looking for. I didn't cry until I hit the Pennsylvania state line, and then I pulled over at a rest stop and sobbed until there was nothing left. I'm going to stop here for a second. If this story is resonating with you at all, or if you've ever felt the pain of being misunderstood by the people who are supposed to love you most, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It really lets me know that sharing these hard stories is worth it. The first week back in Philadelphia, I barely left my studio apartment. I told my clients I'd had a family emergency and needed to reschedule our meetings. Most were understanding, a few were annoyed. One dropped me entirely. I didn't have the energy to care. I slept 14 hours a day. When I was awake, I stared at my laptop screen without seeing it. I'd start to work on a design, then find myself frozen, cursor blinking in the silence, unable to remember what I was supposed to be creating or why it mattered. My phone buzzed constantly those first few days, but it wasn't my family trying to apologize or explain. It was just the normal noise of life. Bills, spam, a text from a friend I hadn't seen in months asking if I wanted to grab coffee. I didn't respond to any of it. On day 5, I finally opened my digital journal. I needed to write it out, to make sense of what had happened, to see if putting it into words would make it feel less like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Dear Mom, I wrote, you taught me that family shows up for each other, that loyalty matters more than being right, that love is a verb, not just a feeling. So why didn't you show up for me when Jennifer said those words? Why did you nod? Why did you agree that I wasn't wanted in my own family? I saved it in the unsent folder with all the others. Dear Jennifer, I continued, I used to think you were the strong one, the successful one, the one who had it all figured out. Now I realize you're just the loud one, the one who Mom listened to because you demanded attention. I was quiet, so I was easy to ignore. I'm done being quiet. I didn't send that one either, but writing it shifted something inside me. A tiny crack in the numbness, a hint of anger underneath the grief. Anger felt better than sadness. Anger had energy, direction, purpose. By week 2, I forced myself back to work. Not because I felt ready, but because my savings account was dangerously low and rent was due. I took on every project I could find, even the ones that paid poorly or came with impossible deadlines. I worked 18-hour days. I lived on coffee and takeout. I ignored phone calls from numbers I didn't recognize, paranoid that it might be someone from my family calling to, what, apologize? Demand I come back? Confirm again that I wasn't wanted? None of them called. That hurt worse than I expected. My friend Marcus, a photographer I'd collaborated with on a few projects, noticed I wasn't okay. He showed up at my apartment on a Saturday afternoon with Thai food and refused to leave until I talked to him. You look terrible, he said, not unkindly. Thanks, that's exactly what I needed to hear. I'm serious, Hill. What's going on? I told him everything. The whole story spilled out between bites of pad thai. Jennifer's words, Mom's nod, Dad's silence, the 8 weeks of erosion I'd ignored because I wanted so badly to believe I belonged. Marcus listened without interrupting. When he finished, he was quiet for a long moment. You know what I think? He finally said. I think you've been trying to earn something that was supposed to be given freely, and that's not on you, that's on them. Something about hearing it from someone outside my family made it real, made it not my fault, made it okay to stop trying. What do I do now? I asked. You build something they can't take away from you. Over the next few months, that became my mantra. Build something they can't take away. I started saying yes to projects that excited me, even if they were risky. I raised my rates, which meant fewer clients but better ones. I created a portfolio website that actually reflected my skills instead of just showing what I thought clients wanted to see. I started therapy. Not trauma therapy at first, just regular talk therapy with a woman named Dr. Chen, who let me cry in her office and didn't make me feel weak for it. Grief isn't just for people who die. You can grieve a relationship while the person is still alive. You can grieve the family you thought you had. I grieved. Hard, messy, loudly in the privacy of my tiny apartment and Dr. Chen's office. And slowly, underneath the grief, something new started growing. Not happiness, not yet, but possibility. The sense that maybe I could build a life that didn't revolve around earning love from people who never planned to give it. I just didn't know yet how strong that foundation would become.
Year 1 was survival. Year 2 was rebuilding. Year 3 was thriving. Let me be clear, it didn't happen in that clean, linear way. Healing never does. It was 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, one giant leap sideways when I least expected it. But there were moments, small victories that added up to something bigger. 6 months after I left, I landed my first major client, a sustainable fashion startup that needed a complete brand identity. They found me through Instagram, where I'd started posting my work consistently, not because I thought it would lead anywhere, but because Dr. Chen suggested I needed to reclaim my voice. Put your work out there, she'd said. Let people see what you can do, not for validation, just as practice for taking up space. The startup paid me more than I'd made in the previous 3 months combined. I cried when I saw the invoice cleared. Not sad tears, something else. Relief, maybe. Or proof that I was worth something after all. I moved out of my studio into a one-bedroom loft in Old City. It had exposed brick, tall windows, and a kitchen island I could actually cook on. I bought real furniture instead of the second-hand pieces I'd been living with. I hung my own artwork on the walls. I made it mine. Around month 8, I started teaching myself about business, not just design, but actual business, pricing strategies, contract negotiation, client management, all the things my little design projects apparently lacked. I discovered I was good at it, better than good. I understood instinctively how to position my work as valuable, how to communicate with clients in a way that built trust, how to create systems that let me scale without burning out. By year 2, I'd hired my first contractor, another designer who could handle overflow work while I focused on strategy and client relationships. By month 18, I hired a second. By year 3, I had a small but mighty team and an office space separate from my apartment. I named my company Reclaim Creative. The name meant something only I understood. The business grew, but so did I. Therapy helped, but so did other things. I joined a pottery class and discovered I loved working with my hands in a way that had nothing to do with screens or clients. I started running, not because I wanted to lose weight, but because it turned out I liked being in my body. I made new friends who knew nothing about my family drama and liked me just for being myself. I built a chosen family. Marcus became more than a collaborator. He became my person, the one I called when something good happened, or when I needed to cry, or when I just wanted to sit in comfortable silence. His wife, Janelle, adopted me into their friend group. I spent holidays with them instead of alone in my apartment pretending I didn't care. But here's what I learned. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean the hurt goes away. It means you learn to carry it differently. I still thought about my family, still wondered if they ever regretted what they'd said, still had moments where I'd see a daughter hugging her mother in public and feel the absence like a physical ache. I kept writing in my journal, unsent letters to people who would never read them. "Dear Dad," I wrote, on the second anniversary of that dinner. "I used to think your silence was neutrality. Now I understand it was a choice. You chose not to defend me. You chose to let them speak for you. I wish I could say I forgive you, but I'm not there yet. Maybe I never will be, and I'm learning that's okay." I never sent it, but I didn't need to. The healing wasn't about them receiving my words. It was about me releasing them. Dr. Chen asked me once what I wanted for my family. "An apology," I said immediately. "And if you never get one?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "Then I'll build a life good enough that their absence doesn't define it." "It sounds like you already have," she said gently. She was right. By year 3, I had a thriving business, a beautiful loft, a community of people who actually wanted me around. I had work that challenged me, hobbies that fulfilled me, relationships that nourished me. I had built something they couldn't take away. But the universe, it seems, has a sense of irony, because just when I'd finally stopped waiting for my family to realize what they'd lost, they came back into my life, not with an apology, with a foreclosure notice and a list of demands. It started with a voicemail from my mother in December of year 3. "Hillary, it's Mom. Please call me back. It's important." I didn't. I'd blocked their numbers 2 years earlier, but Mom had called from a number I didn't recognize. Then came the emails, the text from Jennifer's new number, a handwritten letter that arrived at my business address. How they got it, I still don't know. The message was always the same. They were losing the house. The foreclosure was final. They needed help. Family helps family. Didn't I remember? I did remember. I remembered being told I wasn't wanted. I remembered Mom's nod. I remembered Dad's silence. I remembered every single moment of the 8 weeks I'd spent trying to help people who saw me as an inconvenience. Part of me wanted to help anyway. That's the thing about family trauma. It doesn't just go away because you've healed.
The little girl who wanted her mother's approval still lives inside me. She probably always will. But the woman I'd become, she knew better. I wrote one final letter, not an unsent one this time, a real one, printed on my company letterhead and mailed to the house they were about to lose. Dear Mom, Dad, and Jennifer, 3 years ago, you told me I wasn't wanted. I've spent these years learning that the opposite of being wanted isn't being hated. It's being valued so little that your presence doesn't even matter. I can't help you with the foreclosure, not because I don't have the money, I do, but because helping you would teach you nothing, and it would cost me everything I've built. I've learned that love without respect is worthless, that family isn't just about showing up, it's about being seen. I hope you find a way forward, I genuinely do, but my way forward doesn't include people who only remember I exist when they need something. Hillary. I sent it and felt nothing, no triumph, no sadness, just peace. Have you ever been betrayed by someone who was supposed to protect you? How did you rebuild trust? What's one thing you learned about yourself after a betrayal? Share one moment in your healing journey that changed everything. I'd love to hear your story in the comments. You don't need the people who don't want you. You just need to want yourself enough to walk away. This was another story from Revenge Room, where we turn pain into purpose and betrayal into balance. Please don't forget to subscribe and join us for the next transformation.